Understand that everyone has struggles that aren't always visible. It's a powerful lesson in empathy, patience, and kindness toward others. Behind the polished smiles and public appearances, life for Rance Allen's wife was far from glamorous. On the outside, she appeared to have it all: loving husband, a beautiful family, and a life in the spotlight. But inside, the truth was very different. She had spent so many years hiding her struggles, both emotional and physical, from the world. People only saw what they wanted to see, and she was forced to play the role of a perfect wife and mother, constantly putting everyone else's needs before her own. Every day felt like a delicate balancing act. She had to be there for her husband, supporting his career, cheering him on, and being his rock. But who was there to support her? In many ways, she felt like she had no one to turn to, even though she was surrounded by people. There was an expectation placed on her, an unspoken pressure that she should always be strong, always put together, always the one who had everything under control. The more she tried to maintain that image, the more disconnected she became from her true self. It was a lonely feeling, one that she didn't know how to express without feeling like she would be judged or seen as weak. Her days often started early and ended late, packed with obligations, events, and social appearances. Yet behind the scenes, the toll it was taking on her mental and physical health was becoming harder to ignore. She would wake up exhausted, both emotionally and physically drained from the constant effort to hold it all together. The fatigue wasn't just from lack of sleep, it was the weight of years of unspoken pain and unresolved feelings. She struggled with feelings of isolation, even when she was in a room full of people. She tried to keep up with her daily responsibilities, being a loving wife, a devoted mother, a good friend, but underneath it all, there was a deep sense of emptiness. At times, it felt like she was performing, playing a part in a play that had no end. The real her, the woman who wanted to express her true emotions, her fears, and her struggles, was buried under the layers of perfection that society expected. For years, she silently carried her burdens, trying to protect her family, her marriage, and her image. But there comes a time in every person's life when the weight of everything becomes too much to bear. For her, that turning point came unexpectedly, during one of the lowest points in her life. It wasn't one dramatic event, but rather a series of small moments that finally led her to face the truth. She remembers the moment clearly, sitting in her quiet room, staring at the reflection of a woman she didn't recognize anymore. The woman looking back seemed tired, worn down, and, above all, emotionally drained. She thought to herself, "How did I get here?" It was at that moment that the reality hit her. She couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. She couldn't keep living this double life, putting on a brave face for the world while suffering in silence. But it wasn't just about her own personal pain anymore. It was about something bigger. She realized that by keeping her struggles hidden, she was setting an example for others to hide their pain too. She was perpetuating the belief that perfect people don't struggle, and that was something she couldn't live with anymore. The decision to speak up wasn't easy. It meant letting go of the facade of strength that she had carefully built over the years. It meant being vulnerable, something that was incredibly hard for her to do. For so long, she had feared being judged or misunderstood, especially because of the way people viewed her marriage to a famous figure like Rance Allen. But in that moment, she knew it was time to stop hiding. She needed to speak for herself, and for others who felt the same way. So she began to take small steps. The first step was to talk to the people closest to her. Sharing her emotions with her friends and family was terrifying, but it was also freeing. For the first time in years, she felt heard and understood, and that was the beginning of her healing process. After that, she took the courageous step to share her story publicly. It wasn't easy. There was a lot of fear and uncertainty. Would people judge her? Would they question her marriage? But the support that came flooding in, both from friends and strangers, gave her the strength to continue. The outpouring of love and understanding from others made her realize that she wasn't alone, and that her voice mattered. It was in those early conversations and messages of support that she found the courage to fully embrace her truth. This turning point wasn't just about revealing her struggles. It was about breaking the stigma around vulnerability and showing that it's okay to not have it all together. It was about reminding herself and others that healing begins. Now that she's spoken out about her struggles, things have started to shift. It's not that everything is suddenly perfect, far from it, but she's finally in a place where she can breathe a little easier. The weight of silence no longer holds her down. There's a sense of relief that comes from being honest with herself, her family, and the public. For the first time in a long time, she feels like she's living her truth, no longer hiding behind a mask of perfection. Her emotional and physical health is still a work in progress, but the act of speaking out has been one of the most healing experiences of her life. The fear of judgment that once held her back is slowly melting away, replaced by a sense of empowerment. People have reached out to her with messages of love and understanding, and many have shared their own stories of struggle. In some strange way, sharing her truth has created a community, a space where people can connect over their shared experiences of pain and healing. She never expected to be a voice for others, but now she knows how much of an impact it can have. For her, the real turning point wasn't just about speaking out. It was about realizing that she was not alone. She had carried the burden of feeling isolated for so long, but by opening up, she discovered that many people were going through the same things, even if they didn't talk about it. It was a reminder that we all have our battles, and sometimes the best way to face them is by acknowledging them, rather than pretending they don't exist. She now advocates for the importance of mental health and emotional well-being. Her message is simple but powerful. It's okay not to be okay. She wants others to know that struggling doesn't make you weak. It makes you human, and healing begins when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and ask for help. Her message is a call for others to break free from the shame that surrounds vulnerability and to embrace their imperfections. Her journey has also reminded her of the importance of self-compassion. She's learning to give herself grace, to forgive herself for the moments she felt weak or overwhelmed. The road to healing is not linear, and there are still difficult days ahead, but she's no longer afraid to face them. There's power in admitting when you're struggling, and even more power in asking for support. Today, she is much more in tune with her needs, and she's not afraid to set boundaries in her personal life and her relationships. She's learned that being there for others doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being. It's a balancing act, one that she is still navigating, but with more confidence than before. The love and support from her family, especially from Rance, have been essential in her healing process. They've learned to communicate better, to understand each other's needs, and to be there for one another in ways they hadn't before. She hopes that by sharing her story, others will feel empowered to do the same. Whether it's talking about mental health, facing emotional challenges, or simply admitting that they need help, she believes that the more we open up, the more we heal. Her story isn't just about her. It's a reminder for everyone that we're all carrying something, and it's okay to ask for help. As we look back on the journey that Rance Allen's wife has gone through, it's clear that her story isn't just hers. It's the story of countless individuals who struggle in silence, who carry burdens others may never see. Her courage to open up, to share her truth, and to embrace her imperfections is a reminder that we all face challenges, but we don't have to face them alone. Her journey of healing is ongoing. It's a process filled with ups and downs, days when the weight feels lighter and days when it feels heavier. But what has truly shifted is her perspective. She no longer sees herself as broken or weak for feeling vulnerable. She sees herself as strong for facing her truth. There's immense strength in acknowledging that we don't have to have it all figured out. In fact, it's when we stop pretending that we have it all together that we start to heal. By sharing her story, she's not only freeing herself, but also offering a lifeline to those who feel stuck in their own struggles. There's power in knowing that someone else understands, someone else has been where you are. Her hope is that others will find the courage to speak up, to ask for help, and to embrace their own healing journey. Mental health matters, emotional health matters, and above all, you matter. Rance Allen's wife has shown us that true strength doesn't lie in perfection or silence. It lies in vulnerability and openness. It's about being able to say, "I'm not okay, but I'm working through it." And that, in itself, is an incredibly powerful thing. She now knows that her struggles don't define her, but how she chooses to move forward does, and she's moving forward with the understanding